Where do you come out on the consciousness side before we get into deeper stuff on this?
Okay. All right. You ready?
I'm ready.
This is my jam. To get into the consciousness thing, it's quite a loaded term, right? So it's best to really define it in a very simple manner so that we all know we're talking about the same thing.
Yeah, because there is no agreement on what that is even.
There's some good ideas of what it is, how it functions, or how it's here. Yeah, the jury's out, but there's some pretty good indicators of what it is. My best foot forward, and again, this is from incredible minds that aren't my own, that I've synthesized these ideas from. The basic unit of consciousness is awareness. And so what awareness means is within conscious experience, there are things called qualia. And a single quale of qualia, for example, is the most infinitesimally small unit of the color red. The most irreducibly small unit of the color red is one single quale. And you can imagine our conscious experience as a 3D kind of simulator that is made up of all of these different qualia. And so awareness is simply any being that has any sense of any type of awareness at all, that anything exists. That is the most basic unit of consciousness. So that's the first one, awareness. The second one, which is where things get more important, is sentience. Sentience is simply the capacity to feel things. So this is an interesting distinction because something can be aware without feeling anything. And anyone that's listened to this podcast that's had anesthesia or has had, certain dream states or psychedelics or whatever the, altered state is, has probably experienced a state where they've been aware, but they haven't really felt anything. And so sentience is super important because back to the Descartes dog thing, right? A dog, we can reasonably assume is sentient. I am sentient, I feel things. Therefore, it's a reasonable assumption that all the other primates that share the same nervous system as me can feel things. And all the mammals, it's pretty crazy. If you, every mammal has about 1.5 billion heartbeats in a lifetime. Apart from humans, they have around 2 billion. And if you look at all the skeletons of all the different mammals, they're kind of the same architecture. You can look at the skeleton of a giant whale and you can look at the skeleton of a tiny little mouse. And they're like super similarly organized. And, the heart scales up in this orders of magnitude way that means that it's about 1.5 billion heartbeats for a little mouse that goes really fast and a whale that goes slower. It's we're all kind of the same thing. And the mammals, at least, I think we can reasonably assume are sentient. A lot of the other animals, I think, that have nervous systems and complex apparatuses to feel things, we can reasonably assume are sentient, but maybe including plants. So yeah, awareness, sentience. Anything beyond that is kind of layers on top of those two previous things. So that's including intelligence, creativity. Sapience is another one. So we are called Homo sapiens. Sapience is the capacity for wisdom and knowledge. That's what differentiates us as a species and why we're so, Darwinianly successful compared to the rest is because we can use these psycho technologies like abstract language, which are really good for coordination. And this is all part of sapience. We have an awareness of ourselves. We have a true awareness of our consequences of our actions. And we can make a decision between something that's wise and something that isn't. And most of the decisions around wisdom relate to how they affect things that are sentient, that feel things. We don't really worry about, single-celled organisms or bacteria or viruses. We don't worry about annihilating those with antibiotics because, to the best of our knowledge, they don't feel anything. But we do worry about it for animals and people and wars and things like this. So those are the really important distinctions. Now, when we get to AI, this is where it gets pretty interesting, right? AI systems are built on binary computers, classical computing. like you have on your laptop or on your phone. These are comprised of, these systems that have a gate that goes 1 or 0, yes or no. And it's these ridiculously complex matrices of these things in binary, which essentially means they're deterministic. What does that mean? That means one action leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, leads to another, and it's predictable. Now, the distinction between these AIs and anything on a computer and biological organisms like humans, dogs, etc., is all of biology is built on qubits. These things live in the quantum mechanics realm, right? That's why disease is so hard, cancers and things are so difficult to cure, because they're not deterministic, they're not entirely predictable in a cause and effect manner. They have this certain inherent unpredictability and superposition and chaos that's part of the sort of nature of the universe built into them. Now, that's an interesting pointer, and I think, the better minds than mine that have debated this topic suggest that it's potentially quite dangerous to assume that binary systems are conscious or sentient. However, they're clearly intelligent and creative and potentially sapient. You can ask some of these AIs about, some of them are quite wise on the way that they think if you ask them the right questions, they can answer in very profound and very calculated and wise sort of manners around how we should conduct ourselves. They can take in patterns that a single human brain certainly can't, and understand it and make reasonable deductions from it and find paths forward. So they're potentially very sapient and intelligent, and they're certainly creative. We know this, Andy and I both know this from working with our models. They constantly surprise us. The amount of novelty that comes out of those things is mind-blowing.
Hey, thanks for sticking around to the end.
Are they aware?
Look, if you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and check out the video here on the right-hand side. I'm sure you'll enjoy that one as well. And if you're ready for more, go to realvision.com/join. I'll see you there.